Hi children, how are you? So in our last video we have finished up to shrewd eyes. So today we are going to start from you will excuse me for speaking miss. So hi there, this is Ritu Tamret and you're watching my channel Literature with Ritu. And till now if you're not subscribed to my channel, then please do subscribe to it. Share my videos with your friends, and also press on the bell icon, of course, so that you could get all my videos as I'm uploading. So let's start from you will excuse me for speaking. So let me start my pen. So for the meanwhile, I would like to tell you that this is a story, Hearts and Hands, and this is about a story which is the whole background is set upon a train, and there are three characters. Now in my first video I have explained all these things up to here. So you will excuse me for speaking miss, but I see you are acquainted with the marshal here. Now this glum faced man interrupted in the conversation which was going on between Mr. Easton and Miss Fairchild, because he had noticed how Mr. Easton was in a kind of like embarrassment, and in order to save him from that embarrassment, of course, he tried to intervene in the conversation, and he gave some information to Miss Fairchild about Mr. Easton. So he told, Miss, you were now being familiarized with a marshal. Okay, so he tried to inform Miss Fairchild, the one she was talking to right then. He was none other than a marshal. Okay, so what is marshal? Marshal is a kind of designation, or marshal is an officer of the highest rank in the armed forces. So this is what Mr. Easton was, this is the post Mr. Easton was having, and this is what this glum-faced man informed Miss Fairchild about. Okay, so if you will ask him to speak a word for me when we get to the pen, he will do it, and it will make things easier for me there. He's taking me to Leavenworth prison. It's 7 years for counterfeiting. Now further he informed Miss Fairchild, if she wanted to know anything about him, then at that moment of time it was not like comfortable for Mr. Easton to tell her anything about him, about the glum-faced man, who was of course informing Miss Fairchild about the situation at that time. So Mr. Easton would not feel comfortable, while informing her about this glum-faced man. This is what this glum-faced man himself informed Miss Fairchild. Okay, so he further told Miss Fairchild that once they got to the prison, or once he, the glum-faced man, as being the prisoner, once he got inside the prisoner, then it would become easier, a little bit easier for Mr. Easton to tell her about him, about the glum-faced man himself. So it will make things for easier. It will make things easier for him also. So he's taking me to Leavenworth, and he also informed Miss Fairchild that Mr. Easton, as a marshal, was taking this glum-faced man to Leavenworth prison, and that was on account of counterfeiting. Okay, for 7 years. So what is counterfeiting? So counterfeiting is a crime. It's a fraudulent imitation of something else. That means it is a kind of crime in which the criminal, of course, the culprit, imitates something which is true, something which is the truth, of course, and he falsely imitates that thing. So this is a kind of fraudulent or fraud which is called counterfeiting. So that glum-faced man was involved in that counterfeiting, it is also called forgery, you could also write for this word, rather, counterfeiting, forgery. Okay, so this was the reason why he was being taken to Leavenworth prison by Mr. Easton. This is what he actually informed Miss Fairchild. Oh, said the girl with a deep breath and returning color. So that is what you are doing out here, Marshall. So Marshall. So now you can sense the girl's vanity, like how she was having a kind of sense of arrogance, like she was so arrogant kind of personality. The writer has tried to show or tried to picturize her character, of course. So she was a kind of characters, the kind of personality who had got a lot of arrogance, had got a lot of vanity in her rather personality. That's why, you know, you could well imagine how she did not bother herself, or she did not care even a little to give a single acknowledgement to this person, to this glum faced fellow, as he had informed her so many things, but she did not care even a little to give him even a smile or even a little acknowledgement to this person. How ignored how proud she was on herself. So this is quite clear from this line. Now again she started having conversation with Mr. Easton. So this is what you are doing here, Marshall. Okay, my dear Fairchild, said Mr. Easton calmly. I had to do something. Money has a way of taking wings unto itself, and you know it takes money to keep step with our crowd in Washington. Okay, so actually these lines, of course I'm going to tell you the meaning, or I'm going to explain, but these lines have got some deep embedded meanings inside them, which I'm not going to tell you right now. Of course, I don't want to mar, or I don't want to ruin the kind of attentiveness with which you are listening to the story, with which you are listening to the explanation and all. So right now it's not it's not I'm not supposed to tell you everything about what is the embedded meaning, or what is the deep deep meaning inside these lines, of course. So I'm just telling you the word for word meaning, what these lines have got. Word for word meaning I'm going to tell you, but they have got some meaning which will come at the end of the chapter, of course. So what is the meaning? Money has a way of taking wings unto itself. So very easily we can understand that money is a kind of thing that never stays with a single person. It seems that it has wings to keep flying. That means however much money you can earn, but it gets spent somehow or the other, or it could all disappear within the blink of an eye. So one cannot have complete control over it. So this is what actually money has got, this kind of quality, that it doesn't remain in one's hands. It gets spent in the blinking of an eye. So this is what he told Mr. Easton. This is what Mr. Easton told Miss Fairchild. Now that is why he told Miss Fairchild, that is why he was required to earn money more and more. And here, see this line, I saw this opening in the west, and he further informed Miss Fairchild that he had got that opening in the west. That means he got the opportunity of earning a lot of hell of money, of course, in the west, and that's why he decided to have marshalship, so that he could earn a lot of money. Now this line, you know it takes money to keep stay with our crowd in Washington. Now as the line says, it's quite clear, the meaning is quite clear, that if you if you want to if you wish to intermingle with of course affluent class of people, rich people, cash rich people, then in that case you need a great deal of money, obviously. So what does it mean? If a person wants to commingle with high class people, if you want to be surrounded with people, or if you want to join their company, if you want to like get together with the kinds of people who are extremely wealthy, then in order to get together with these kinds of people, you really need to have a lot of, great deal of money in your custody. It's not possible, like if you are a poor person, it's not possible for you to do that. So in order to maintain all these things, in order to maintain all, these kinds of luxurious life, you need a lot of money. This is what this line means. Now, I saw this opening in the West. Well, a marshalship isn't quite as high a position as that of an ambassador. Now, further Mr. Easton told Miss Fairchild that marshalship was not as great a position as that of an ambassadorship. Now, he told Miss Fairchild that it was true that he was having that high class designation that was of marshalship, but that was not as high as an ambassador. So why he said this to Miss Fairchild? Maybe in some past times she was having any relationship with any person who was ambassador. So what is ambassador? Ambassador means an official, an accredited diplomat sent by a state as its permanent representative in a foreign country. So this is obviously much higher post or much higher designation than marshalship. So maybe she was having any kind of inclination or any kind of relationship with that person who was ambassador himself. So that's why sarcastically Mr. Easton was informed Miss Fairchild that even if he was having that high class post, but that was not as high a position as that of an ambassador. So an ambassador, said that girl warmly, doesn't call anymore. Now Miss Fairchild informed Mr. Easton that she was not in any kind of relationship with that master, or she was no more having any such relationship with that with that ambassador. So he needn't ever have done so, you ought to know that. And so you are one of these dashing Western heroes. Now once again she moved towards him, she moved towards the kind of things he was doing, of course, in west. So you ride, you shoot, go into all kinds of dangers. Now she was very happy. These lines are telling us that she was like she started having a kind of inclination towards him, and she was trying to show that she was so happy with the kinds of things he was doing at that time. So she started having like a kind of liking or a kind of like a soft corner towards Mr. Easton, and she was trying to show all these things to him. That's different from Washington life. You have been missed from the old crowd. Now she also told Mr. Easton that the kinds of things which he was doing in the West, in the West, of course, those things of course made him a different kind of personality, would make him distinctive from the old crowd. Now he was nowhere in the scene in the old crowd. Now he was not the kind of person like who was so common, like normal people, or he was not the kind of personality who was like as normal as normal crowd. Okay, so he was now in some unique position. He was having some distinctive personality among the crowd. So let's go to the next page. No, I think there are two more sentences. The girl's eyes, fascinated, went back, widening a little to rest upon the glittering handcuffs. Now, of course, she was talking to Mr. Easton, but time and again her eyes were, going towards the handcuffs, and once again her eyes were set on the glittering handcuffs, or those fetters, or I have told you the synonyms of handcuffs, you can write. fetters, shackles. Okay, so once again her eyes were set on the glittering handcuffs. Then what happened? Let's see. Let's go to the next page. This is 71. Yes. Now, don't you worry about them, miss, said the other man. All marshals handcuffed themselves to their prisoners to keep them from getting away. Mr. Easton knows his business. Now you can see once again this glum faced fellow tried to intervene in their conversation. I mean, he knew that he was not being, he was not being given any kind of attention from that girl, but even then, he was trying to intervene in the conversation again and again. Why? Because he was literally a very good person at heart, even if he was a prisoner, as being depicted by the writer over here. Uh, he was very good at heart because he did not want Mr. Easton to be embarrassed in front of a beautiful girl. He did not want uh, Mr. Easton to be called, or he did not want Mr. Easton to be to appear as a thief in front of that girl, of course, because Mr. Easton's hand was, bound, or it was tied with the hand of the glum faced man. So the girl was quite, she was, I think she was from time to time getting afraid, why this fellow or Mr. Easton is being tied, or why this fellow, I mean Mr. Easton, of course. She was, thinking about Mr. Easton, why he has tied his hand like this. So from time to time she was getting afraid, I think. That's why uh, this glum-faced man tried to save Mr. Easton from the kind of embarrassment, of course, he was in at that time, and he was trying to save Mr. Easton from that embarrassment in front of a girl. So again he intervened and he said, "Don't you worry about them." Now again he told Miss Fairchild not to get worried about them, because all marshals handcuff themselves to their prisoners. Why all marshals do this? Because they don't want their prisoners to get away. They don't want to give any chance to their prisoners to get away or run away. They cannot let their prisoners run away from their custody. That's why Mr. Easton had tied his hand to the hand of that glum-faced man. So this is what he informed Miss Fairchild. Now he further said, Mr. Easton knows his business. This glum-faced man, I mean that prisoner, told Miss Fairchild that Mr. Easton was a very good marshal, and he was quite a responsible person for that matter, and that's why he knew his business. He knew what he knew his duties. That's why he had done like that. So will you see now once again? Will you see? Will we see you again soon in Washington? Asked the girl. Now again you can see one thing. You can take note of one thing, that how proud this girl was, how very self-centered kind of girl she was, because I mean again she did not bother herself. She did not care even a little about that glum-faced man who was like giving her a lot of information about what was happening around them. But even then, what kind of a self-centered or egocentric kind of girl she was, that she did not care even a little. She did not bother herself even a little to give even a single smile to that man, to that glum-faced man. Because why? Because she was thinking that Marshall to be a prisoner. That's why she did not care even a little for him. Now, so again she asked Mr. Easton whether they would be able to meet each other ever in Washington. But not soon, I think, said Mr. Easton. My butterfly days are over, I fear. Now once again these lines have got some some inner meanings, of course, in them. These lines also, I mean not these lines, this line. My butterfly days are over, this line of course has got some inner meaning inside it, which I'm not going to tell you, because I don't want to ruin your interest, your attentiveness. Okay, so all these things will come at the end of the story. So now you just know the word for word meaning of that. He said, Mr. Easton told Miss Fairchild that no, they could not meet. I mean, Mr. Easton replied in the negative. And he also said, my butterfly days are over. Now, he said, Miss Fairchild, that he was a dutiful man now, and also a conscientious man. You could also write this word, conscientious man. Conscientious man means a man who takes his duties so seriously, like he is so responsible towards the kind of duties he has got. So you could also write this word, conscientious. Okay, so that's why his happy-go-lucky days were over now. Now it was not possible for him to go in the public and have a lot of recreations, have a lot of entertainments and funs for that matter. Why? Because now he was a responsible man, so he could not do that. So that's why he said, my butterfly days are over. But once again they have got this sentence of course has got some inner meaning, which I will tell you at the end of the chapter. I love the West, said the girl irrelevantly. Her eyes were shining softly. Now once again you can well imagine from this line that once again she was trying to tell Mr. Easton how she was interested in the West. And I mean, this line has got some suggestive meaning. Suggestive meaning means she was telling something else, but she has got some inner meaning inside that. I love the West, that means she was trying to tell Mr. Easton that how she loved the West. That means she was taking interest in him. Her eyes were softly shining. She looked away out of the window car. She began to speak truly and simply without any gloss of style and manner. Mama and I spent the summer in Denver, and she went home a week ago because father was slightly ill. I could leave and be happy in the West. Now once again, how egocentric kind of personality she was. It's quite obvious from this line that as her father was ill, but she did not bother herself to go along with mama, along with her mother, of course, in order to take care of her father. And her mother went to his father in order to take care of him, but she did not go. And she was having funs and recreations in West. So again, what kind of a personality she is, you can well imagine. Now I think the air here agrees with me. Now once again, she is trying to tell Mr. Easton how she was in she was mad in love with West, and how air in West agreed with her. Money isn't everything, but people always misunderstand things and remain stupid. Now she is again telling money is not everything. That means she was trying to tell Mr. Easton that money itself or money per se wasn't everything, but people misunderstood things and because they were so stupid. But once again, these lines have got some inner meanings inside them, which are going to come at the end of the story. So till then we will have to wait. Say, Mr. Marshall, growled glum-faced man. Now, Mr. Marshall growled the glum-faced man. Glum-faced man said to Mr. Master. Again and again I am calling this Master. Mr. Marshall. Okay, Mr. Marshall means Mr. Easton. This glum-faced man told Mr. Marshall or Mr. Easton that this isn't quite fair. I am needing a drink and haven't had a smoke all day. Haven't you talked long enough? Take me in the smoker now, won't you? I'm half dead for a pipe. Okay, now this glum-faced man told Mr. Marshall that he was quite in the need of a drink because okay, say means this is an expression of surprise. Okay, if you have got any question what is the meaning of say here, then say is an expression of surprise. Now these lines are quite obvious that he was getting bored out of the conversation which was going on between Mr. Easton and Miss Fairchild. Obviously, he was not being, noticed at all. He was trying to intervene in the conversation, but Miss Fairchild was not taking even a single interest in that person. So obviously, that conversation which was going on was kind of making him bored, so he was trying to get out of it. And so uh, he told Mr. Easton that he wanted to have drink, or he wanted to have some smoke also, and he was half dead for it. That means he was crazy and he was just exhausted, that he just wanted to have that smoking or smoke. The bound travelers rose to their feet, Easton with same smile on his face. Now these two bound travelers, that means the travelers which were bound, or they were tied together, they now were standing and they wanted to go. And now the same slow smile was there on his face, on the face of Mr. Easton. I can't deny for a tobacco, he said lightly. It's the one friend of the unfortunate. Goodbye, Miss Fairchild, duty calls. You know, he held out his hand now. He bid farewell, or he bid goodbye to Miss Fairchild because they wanted to go, and he told the glum-faced man that he was not going to deny, tobacco or drink, or the kind of smoking. He was not going to deny all these things to him, because this was something which was the friend when someone was, someone was dejected, someone was disheartened, or someone was in despair. So, it's quite natural. We know that when somebody is in despair, or they are dejected, like they are sad, then they take the support of alcohol. So, this is what actually he wanted to say to him. It's too bad that you are not going to East, she said, reclothing herself with manner and style, but you must go on Leavenworth, I suppose. Now she was unhappy that Mr. Easton was not going to the East, because obviously it's quite clear now that she was taking interest in him, and she got unhappy all of a sudden when she came to know that he was not going to the East. That means, there was to come a break between their conversation, and she was not going to East, of course, in his company. So this is what something made her sad or dismal. So yes, said Easton, I must go on to Leavenworth. The two men settled down the aisle into the smoker. Now Mr. Easton replied that they would obviously go to Leavenworth prison, and the two men settled down the aisle into the smoker. That means they moved sideways. Settle down means aisle, I have already told you the meaning. Settle down means to move sideways through the narrow passage. That narrow passage means aisle. So because they had to go to the smoker. So today up to here, let it be, because it's almost 30 minutes. I think, yes, it's almost 30 minutes. Yes. So let it be up to here. The next page, the story is really going to end with 2 or 3 more lines. I think at most there are 5 to 6 lines, I think. Let me see. Yeah, see, this is the last page. At most I think 6 to 7 lines are there, but today I am not going to end the story, because at the end there are so many things for me to explain, because there are so many ironies, there are situational ironies in the story, there are verbal ironies in the story, there are many things, because I while in between the story, in between my explanations, I told you that many occasions we came to some lines which have got their inner meanings. I told you in between my explanations that these lines have got some inner meanings, and the word for word meaning I told you in between my explanation. So there are so many things which I'm going to cover in the next part of the video, which is not possible, like in one video it's not possible for me to club everything together, and it will also make you bored. Okay, so in my next video, in the next part of the story, we are going to finish the story, and of course I'm going to tell you what the ironies are, what the yeah, of course, one more thing which is left is the title of the story, because you could face this question. Please, um, uh, you could have this kind of question. What could be the question? I think, please prove the significance of the title uh, in relation with the story. So that's why it's quite compulsory important for you to understand the meaning of the title also. So okay, in my next video we are going to finish the next part of the chapter, which will be which is going to be very important, so you have to pay a lot of attention. Okay, so okay, if you like my ways of explanation, my way of teaching, then please I expect a big thumbs up from you guys, and also I would request you guys to share my videos with your friends and subscribe to my channel if you are new, and if you are old, then it's all right. Keep watching my videos and take the full advantage of my knowledge. And if you are new, if you're not subscribed to my channel as yet, then please do subscribe to it, and also refer my channel to your friends. Till then, bye bye.